Hello and welcome to FPL Mate, your best mate for the game week 38, the final game week of this whole FPL season, and it's make or break time. This is our final chance to make any sort of changes to our ranks, and a lot of you guys have got free hits going on, so that's what we're going to be talking about today. I've made for you a free hit draft, and oh my god, it is so good. I wish I had my free hit draft just so I could play this very free hit that I'm going to be showing you in this video. It's pretty good. It's pretty good. But yeah, if this is the first time you've ever watched FPL Mate, then please do consider subscribing. I make videos, several videos every week, trying to give you the best opportunities, the best advice for FPL, and there'll be plenty more in the off season as well. So yeah, for game week 38, you want to be a subscriber of FPL Mate. So let's get into this draft. But before I quite show you the players exactly, I do just want to tell you a little bit about the thinking behind this team. So the final day of the season is always going to be packed with goals. So we do want to prioritise attack. So we're going to go for attacking formations. We've got to go for attacking defenders. Not necessarily look for players that will give you clean sheets, but it's more to see who can give you a bit more than a clean sheet. So that's sort of what you want to be doing. But you also want cheap defenders. So I know it's difficult to find a balance of both, but that's what I've been trying to do. So we want to be putting all our money in those forward players. We also want to be going for players with a little bit more to play for. So, you know, the team's scrapping around trying to avoid relegation. The players who are going for golden boots, golden gloves, assist records if you're Kevin De Bruyne, and, you know, fighting for European spots as well. So everyone who has something to play for, those are the guys we want to be considering. And for that very reason, you should expect weird/random results. So you need to go for the more predictable games, the games where there is something to play for, because those are the teams that are going to be far more predictable in how they're going to set up and who they're going to play and how much they're going to win by. But you've listened to all of the rationale enough. I'm sure you want to see some players on this grand old animated pitch. So let's see what I can do for you there. So I'm going to start off with Emi Martinez. Now Arsenal, defensively solid, not really conceding. Martinez has just been brilliant, hasn't he? What an understudy. I don't think anyone quite expected Emi Martinez to be quite as good as he has been. There are rumours that Leno could be back for this final game. But, you know, I'm not really sure how true that is. And I think still you've got an opportunity to have this really, really cheap guy in a team that is defensively solid against a team that is not looking particularly good right now. But, you know, Arsenal do have nothing to play for. Could they even play Matt Macy, their third choice goalkeeper in this game? I'm not sure. I want to have Martinez, but I would want to have a playing backup in this position just in case. You know, just that even if it's like 10% chance that Martinez doesn't play. We want to cover that, don't we? So, moving on to the rest of the team. So Trent Alexander-Arnold in defence. Now I know I've just contradicted myself a little bit. I said don't go for the expensive defenders, and now I've picked the most expensive defender. But you know what? This is a really nice fixture against a Newcastle side with nothing to play for. Newcastle have been shocking in defence since the break. They have now they've got injury problems at the back as well. So you know, and they haven't really been doing much in attack more recently as well. So it's a really good fixture here that I despite. You might want to go for all of the other fixtures where there's more on the line. I think this is too good of a fixture to ignore. You could potentially swap Trent for Robertson, just because Robertson's going to be a little bit more nailed, as Robertson doesn't have the same competition for his position as Trent does. But Trent, you know, he's on those set pieces, and he's always potential of scoring ridiculous scorelines. So I think it's time to play the Trent card one more time. Before the end of the season. So moving on into the next defensive position, and it's Serge Aurier. Attacking fullback with assist potential against a weak Palace defence with nothing to play for really. You know, Palace again, they've been weak in attack as well. Spurs do need to pip Wolves for the 6th place for the guaranteed Europa League spot. So they are going to be going for it. They have plenty to play for compared to Palace. They could go all out and you know, they could really, really smash Palace. Palace have just been in awful form. They're conceding so many goals. They're not really they can't even get a draw right now. I think there's five losses on the bounce, maybe even more than that now. So yeah, another team that you want to be targeting in this particular game week as a team with nothing to play for and who looks rubbish anyway. Next up is Bardsley in defence. Nice cheap Burnley defender. So Burnley's has been the best defence pretty much, hasn't it, really? And against a team like Brighton, who aren't really creating many chances at the moment. I was looking at the stats, and Brighton are, I think, something like the third or fourth lowest for chances created, or shots taken, that sort of thing. So Brighton aren't looking too good in attack, and Burnley have been just outdoing themselves game after game in defence, especially with that Nick Pope in goal, looking for that clean sheet record. He's just doing amazingly, isn't he? So the reason I've chosen Bardsley rather than one of the other guys, because there are other cheap options in defence there for Burnley, is because Bardsley is picking up the most bonus points by far when you discount those additional points for goals and assists. So if you're looking for a defender, you've got your clean sheet, yep, that's nailed on, lovely. Now what we need after that is some nice bonus points, whether it's 1, 2, 3 bonus points. And Bardsley is looking like the player most likely to pick up those bonus points in defence. Other than Pope, of course, because Pope, he's just the GOAT, isn't he? But yeah, against the other defenders, Bardsley is looking like the best option there. And then into midfield, and arguably, she should be the first name on your whole team sheet, and it's Raheem Sterling. Oh my God. Amazing recently, hasn't he? It's 8 goals and 4 assists in 8 appearances since the restart. That makes him the top goal scorer since the restart. And also the second highest assist behind Bruno. That's not a bad player to be behind, is it really? That could of course change after tonight's matches. We know Manchester United play against West Ham, so that could potentially change. But you know, average of 9.75 points per match that he's played in since the restart. That's just insane, isn't it? And every time he hasn't blanked, he's scored 10 points or more. That's happened 5 times he's scored more than 10 points. He's scored over 15 points 3 times now since the break. And he's, of course, scored that 21 point that one time as well. I think it was against Brighton. He did take a penalty against Watford and has publicly stated he's going for 20 Premier League goals. It looks like the club is backing him to go for that 20 Premier League goals as well. He's currently on 19, so you know what, if it's early in the game against Norwich, Norwich concede a penalty. Who's taking it? I think it's Raheem Sterling, even if he does miss it on the first attempt again. But, you know, it's something we definitely want to look out for, the fact that he's going for those 20 goals. Okay, so he played 60 minutes versus Watford, so he should be fit to start again. Gabby Jesus played the full 90, so even if Gabby Jesus does start against Norwich, he is very unlikely to play the full 90 once more, which means Sterling will play through that middle, if not from the start, but when Jesus does eventually come off, that's Sterling in the middle. We could even see Sterling with a full 90. I think if he's going to get a full 90, he's going to be in this game. Norwich, on the other hand, we know this already, but they've been tragic. They're relegated. They don't have to do anything anymore. They don't care. They've given up. They just want to go again in the Championship next season and try and get themselves back in the Premier League. They're over it, quite frankly, I think. So, yeah, it's a definite fixture you want to be targeting indeed. Salah is next on my team, and another Golden Boot chasing player. Could be even closer after this Chelsea game tonight. He has been playing a lot of minutes. That's expected to continue, I think. He has been a little bit inconsistent, but perhaps unlucky not to score more. You can tell he's very greedy at the moment. He's very hungry. Newcastle, nothing to play for. You know, not even individual plaudits to play for. Newcastle don't have any top scorers, don't have any clean sheet records to go for, anything like that. They've got nothing really. So many youth players could even come into that Newcastle team, you know, just a full rotation of the Newcastle team. And they have to rotate anyway because they've got so many injuries at the defence, so many absentees at the back. So, you know, it could be a big score here. Salah, the one to punt on, going for that Golden Boot. If you want to save a little bit of money, maybe you fancy it, you could go for Mane, but Salah for me. Next up, might surprise you a little bit, but it's Mahrez. And I know not a lot of other people have put Mahrez in their free hit teams so far, but because I've made this video after last night's game where we saw that Mahrez didn't start against Watford, you would have thought, if we're going to try and predict the Pep rotation, then Mahrez is good to go versus Norwich, surely. I mean, he has been a frustrating player to own, Mahrez. I can tell you that from personal experience. But in the last 5 games since restart, where he's played 60 minutes or more, he has returned at least once in each of those games. And whenever he's on the pitch, he just, to me, looks like the best player on there. So he is capable of a haul versus the weaker teams as well. So that's something to look out for. So I do think Mahrez is a very good price. You could go for him. I think he's a very good guy to go for in a free hit this particular week alone in individual game week. But next up, we're going to go for Martial. A difficult but incredibly important game versus Leicester. Could be cagey, could be defensive. I wouldn't want to own 3 Man United attackers, but I think it is important to have one, just because the Manchester United attackers' effective ownership is so high. You do need to cover it a little bit, just in case. And you know what better player to go for than the man right at the tippy top of that Manchester United attack, and that is Martial, picking up the extra points for the goals as well, despite playing up front. He's always been a good option, and you know, he's cheaper than Bruno, and he's been more consistently outscoring Bruno over the last couple of games, hasn't he? So, and he's looked better than Bruno. I think he's more rested. He didn't play in the FA Cup, you know, Bruno has looked a little bit. He's looked a little bit tired. So you know, Martial. I know. Sorry, he did play in the FA Cup, but he didn't play as many minutes. But yeah, I think Martial is going to be the guy to watch. In that Manchester United attack, in the most important game of their season to get themselves Champions League. Who'd have thought it? Want to come back, but there we have it. And finally, one third and final player in the Manchester City team that I want to go for in midfield, and it's KD. No, it's not KDB. It's David Silva. But you all thought it was going to be KDB, but I've got some reasoning behind this. And it's not just about saving money and trying to spread the value out into other areas of the pitch, although that is a very good reason. But David Silva, you know, he's not started that last game, which means in fact he didn't even play a single minute in that last game against Watford. So you would think he is definitely on for his final Premier League game against Norwich. I think he's got to be the most nailed on player in that Manchester City side. Like, I can't think of a player more likely to play than David Silva, barring of course some sort of injury. But I also like it when David Silva and KDB are playing, which if KDB does play, David Silva will be playing with him. Is David Silva, he free roams around the pitch a little bit more, he gets further forward, and KDB sits a lot deeper. And I know a lot of people are going to be screaming, but KDB is going for the assist record. But I mean, I would rather choose a further forward playing, a more important game for him, his final Premier League game. He's going to be taking the set pieces as well. Could even be on a penalty, you know what, David Silva, just because it's his final game, final farewell, rather than KDB, who's going to be dropping deep. He's going to be playing right back half the game, trying to go for 1 assist to match that record. David Silva just looks more appealing to me in this particular game, and fair enough, you might not agree, and I think that is a case of there is no right answer in FPL, is there? But I think I would rather go for David Silva than KDB, even if they were the same price. But that's just me, and that is my recommendation for you guys at home. Right, let's go into an attack. And we've only got 2 players at attack, and the first one is Harry Kane, the main striker with something to play for against arguably the worst team in the Premier League right now, aren't they? Palace in awful form, can't seem to get any points whatsoever. They're safe, they don't care, and they also concede loads of goals, as I've said before. In fact, I think they might have even conceded the most goals of all Premier League teams since the restart. They're just shipping goals for fun, aren't they? So they're not that rigid defensive team that we perhaps assumed that they would be anymore. So this is why you can take advantage of sticking Kane in there. Kane's still in for a chance of getting his 20 goals. I know that's a big thing for strikers to try and get 20 goals in the season, so it's still very possible for Kane. And he's the only real Spurs attacker getting any points at the moment. You know, he seems to be in form much more than Son, so I'd much rather go for a Kane and save those valuable midfield positions for other players and just go for Kane. Yeah. And then finally, we've got one more. It's Danny Ings. Another player going for the Golden Boot, but in a much tougher game. His performances and his attitude have given me faith against any opposition. I think with Danny Ings, he looks so on it. He just wants to score. He wants to be involved. He knows that this might be his only ever chance to get the Golden Boot, and he really wants to go for it. He's an absolute machine right now. 6 goals in his last 8 games since the break. Could have had 13 points last game week if he'd scored that penalty against Bournemouth, but unfortunately he did miss that. So slightly misleading seeing that he got 4 points last night. Not last night, but last game. Yeah, he could have been on for a lot more. So those are the first 11 playing. And then on the bench, I've gone for Pepe Reina. An incredibly important game for Aston Villa. Could be going for even a 1 point, trying to get a 0-0, something like that. Maybe try and pip another 1-0, which makes it a great option, really. And then in attack, on the bench, if you want to have this attack, I don't think I'd have him first sub. Is Connolly, just because he's so cheap, 4.2, and then Williams for Manchester United. 3.8, incredibly cheap. Is he going to start? I'm not sure. You could argue that you put him first sub, but I mean, I'll leave that one up to you. And then finally, this guy Branthwaite, this young Everton centre-back. Everton got a few defensive problems as well. Their game is it tough, really, against Bournemouth? I don't know. It could be a strange one indeed, but you know, you've got a player who's guaranteed to start against an on-paper easy game to defend in. You could even stick him first substitute as well if you wanted to, but I think Conley would have to be the third one for me. But those are the defenders. I'll put the subs. I'll put them in order for you, so you can see. And then it's all about who we're going to stick captain for this game week 38. It's the most important captaincy decision of the entire season, and it's got to be Sterling. There's no question. It's Sterling for me. I have no doubts about this one whatsoever. This is the captaincy choice, and when a captaincy choice is this obvious, I think you would be a fool not to go for it. So yeah, that's what I will be trying to do in my team, even though I don't have a free hit. But if you do have a free hit and you can get Sterling in and you can captain him, then you would be taking a little bit of a differential punt indeed if you didn't go for Sterling. So yeah, Sterling for captaincy. On the vice captain, I think I'd probably go for Kane, if I'm honest. You know, as I said, Kane could get a couple of goals for that golden boot. Palace are letting in loads of goals. Spurs with far more to play for than Palace. Yeah, Kane vice captain. I think that's a pretty easy captain and vice captain decision, despite the fact that you've managed to cram in so many premiums into this team. This team is kind of like a little bit expensive. I think most of you will probably be able to just about afford it, but there is some money you can be saving a little bit here, whether you wanted to stick in Foden somewhere. I don't think I probably would go for that. Whether you want to put a real cheap backup goalkeeper in, you can go for some cheaper backup players in general, couldn't you? You could take down Trent Alexander-Arnold to a Robertson maybe. You could take down Aurier to a cheaper defender, maybe a Burnley defender, another Burnley defender, and double up there possibly. So there's plenty of options to squeeze a little bit more money out of this team, but this is, I think, sort of the ideal where you can spend most of your money, if not all, and get a really strong starting 11 and enough backup on the bench as well, just in case things don't quite go to plan. So there you have it. That is my free hit team for Game Week 38. I hope you did like this. If you did like it, then that would only make sense to like the video. So please do that if you did like the video, that'd be cool. If you are new around here, please do consider subscribing. Plenty more Game Week 38 videos to come that you don't want to miss. And then going into the pre-season for the next season, you don't want to miss that either. I've got so much planned. So yeah, thank you so much for watching, and I suppose I'll see you later, mates. Bye-bye.